So Theophobia is a band. It started as a duo just between me and Dylan Mars Greenberg in 2019. We shared a lot of sort of similar musical and cultural influences. Things like camp and just over-the-top theatrical music like Sparks and music of Jim Steinman, Todd Rundgren. And we thought it would be cool to, start a project that sort of embodies that kind of stuff. We were both songwriters, so we thought we'd sort of trade off songwriting and singing roles, and I play guitar. So our first shows, early shows, were both of us singing, me playing electric guitar, and we had these synth backing tracks that we would both make, like on GarageBand, and later we started using Logic. I would say it was sort of a kind of a lo-fi DIY take on some of the music that we were interested in. And we always sort of talked about getting together a full band, but we weren't sure that we'd be able to find people who were good enough or who were really committed to the project. Some 4 or 5 years later, we were able to find people who could fill those roles, who were really incredible musicians. And they sort of took our initial vision of what the sound was going to be closer to how those records that we liked actually sounded, instead of kind of a homemade version of it. So what we're doing with this album, we're trying to record the way that these records that we love were recorded. So we're using 16-track analog tape. We're working with Paul Millar, who is a really like-minded and I would say virtuosic producer and engineer. And this is sort of us taking our vision to kind of its full scope. I think we realize that making it the way that we want, as a lot of sort of bigger art projects go, is going to cost some money. So, we're asking for people to get involved because we want to make the album that we really want to make without having to cut corners or do some sort of, cheaper DIY version of that. We want a really big maximal album with strings and horns. We want to record it on tape. We've got this incredible 6-piece band now, and so it's going to be the real thing. I think Theophobia has always been sort of a maximalist project, but early on we sort of had to make exceptions because we didn't have access to other instrumentalists. We, had to record it just like on Logic or Pro Tools or one of these things that we don't really think suits the music as much. So, we're asking people to get involved so that we can make, a really big music project. And I think when it's finished, it's really going to show this is the music that we've always wanted to make.
Over the last few years, we've grown from a duo to a full 6-piece band. We've played shows on PBS, we won Miss Subways in 2019, we're featured on WFMU, we've been featured on What is New York, and we've played great shows at the legendary Coney Island Sideshow, Union Pool, TVI, and much more. Now, we're recording our first ever full-length album, and we want you to be a part of it. We'll be re-recording some of the tracks that have become live favorites, as well as brand new originals, all played with our full band and recorded on tape with the amazing Paul D. Millar. We have 2 singles out now, The Most Wanted Woman in Estonia and Chili Dog Incarnate, and I feel like they really demonstrate the ambitious sound that we're going for.
The most wanted woman in Estonia, she was loved by every man somehow, so wanted...
We've been really fortunate to work with great musicians who really understand the sorts of songs we're trying to write and the kind of music we're trying to make. I think everybody is really interested in music that sort of it falls within the Theophobia aesthetic. We've got Chris Michaels on drums, who is just a really eclectic drummer who's really influenced by lots of different music, from soft rock to progressive to jazz, even heavy metal. He plays a plethora of different things, and he just really, understands the musical language of Theophobia.
My experience with Theophobia has been a blast. We've gone to places I never thought I'd see. We've played to huge crowds of people, and I've gotten to express myself on the drum kit in a way no other band has allowed me to. All the influences in Theophobia songs, they borrow from a wide range of different styles, mostly catered towards the 60s, 70s power pop plus 80s new wave sound. But it's kind of a broad spectrum of things, and I think that's the best part of playing with this band is it's never the same thing. It's always something fresh, always something new. It's really hard to put a label on Theophobia just just because of the diversity of sound that you get. Like, some songs sound like country western hard rock ballads. Other songs are like these slow dramatic piano ballads. And then we have songs that are just straight up fucking bangers. So really all over the place with Theophobia. You never know what you're gonna get. This album stands out because among the current musical landscape, it's something new, it's something fresh. It's similar yet different to anything that you've heard. Like, you can't really put your finger quite on why it stands out, but you just hear it and it's so vastly unique. That's why I think it's important. Paul Millard is a blast to work with. He's fun, he knows when to give input, and the input he gives is always something great. He's a quirked up dude, he's got great music taste, and his Slugbug album fucking rules, so check that out.
We also have Alan Worm on guitar. I definitely wanted a second guitar player in the band. I'm more of a kind of like primitive rock and roll guitar player, and I wanted somebody who is a little bit more technical. Alan is like jazz educated guitarist, went to Berkeley. He can really play anything, and definitely lends sort of more of a musical professionalism to our sound with his guitar work.
So before the full band came together, Theophobia were performing as a duo, and I happened to run sound for them at a show at a venue in Bushwick that is also an arcade. It was a little bit of a misadventure of a night because people were getting really rowdy playing the video games, and it was kind of disrupting the performance. But I was up in the sound booth really enjoying it. At one point, Dylan left the stage and Matt performed a cover of Piss Aaron by Todd Rundgren. And I came down when the set was over and said, wow, I can't believe you covered Piss Aaron. And I believe I said at that point, if you're ever putting a full band together, let me know. A couple of years went by, I think. Lockdown happened, and then I saw that you were hosting auditions. And so I went to try out, and Matt said, yeah, you can be in the band. In my mind, Theophobia is a turducken of music and comedy in that it is a very serious band stuffed inside a comedy act, stuffed inside a very serious band. It's a really unique expression of a musical vision that I think certainly isn't super widely represented in the landscape right now. It's made with a lot of care, and it's made with very, very painstaking attention to detail, and it's very actively not like trend following, and I think that that's really admirable. I've been waiting to be in a band like this one all my life.
We're also working with Nick Ceriola. Nick's just a monster bass player, just adds an incredible bounce to all of our compositions and really knows how to play both in a supportive way and in a really melodic way.
Playing in Theophobia has been interesting. It's definitely pushed me outside of what I'm used to doing musically. It's been fun to find my own niche in these songs and, developing them to be as fleshed out and good as possible. The music that we're playing is it's a good mix of theatrical, technical, kooky, and fun, but also making a serious statement at the same time. I just find that to be a really cool blend of things. And we take ourselves seriously, but we have fun with it at the same time. I think that the album that we're making, it's not like anything that any of us have listened to before. It's more of a combination of all of our influences, taking the best parts of what we like and all these different genres and kind of making something that's unique, something that's very us.
We also have Michael Butterly on piano and keys and synth, and Michael's classically trained. He has a great interest in classical music and avant-garde music. He really brings that to our stuff and brings a fun improvisation to the live shows. He'll often play cool improvisations in between our songs that really delight the crowd.
Theophobia so far has been interesting. It sort of feels like every show we do, I'm in the pit band for whatever Matt and Dylan are cooking up that we then present to the audience as just this mishmash of chaos and funny bits and songs. And quite frankly, I don't even know what to expect anymore. So when I was asked to audition for the band, what it was sold to me as is Sparks and Jim Steinman. And I still think that that is the best descriptor of it. Our songs are a little kind of all over the place. There's commonalities between things like Chili Dog and Estonia and God of War. But at the same time, if you think of those three songs, they are different levels of different, but they're not the exact same thing. I feel like the main soul of this album. It's almost like the soundtrack to a play written by Matt and Dylan and then performed by Matt, Dylan, and the rest of us. I feel like this really captures the moments in time that you guys wrote these songs. And I just think every time that we play it, and I'm sitting there playing the piano, and you two are out there working the crowd, and the crowd's loving it, I'm like, this is pure chaos, but I'm also completely here for it. So I feel like the album is important because it really is a snapshot of like you two guys as artists, but then like all of us as like musicians. It really does sort of feel like you guys wrote the book, but now it's up to us to play the soundtrack. Paul's insane. I know that's been said before, but Paul's insane. He has so many fun toys in his studio. Like, it's crazy. I kept taking pictures because I kept being like, hey guys, look what I got to do today! I could always tell, like, oh, I want to play with this thing, because there'd be like that layer of dust over it that you know that all vintage gear has, and you're like, okay, this has like a story to it. I want to like play this. I remember getting to play the organ for Chili Dog and seeing the physical organ in front of me. It wasn't just like a patch on a keyboard. It was, no, this is a real electric organ. I felt the way the keys felt, and I felt the action, and I felt everything. And it makes you think like, okay, so then how did people who recorded with this type of gear way back when, how did they do it? And that changes your playing. And since so much of this music is like a throwback to that sort of era, it really informed my decisions with performing. I mean, Paul literally made me bleed on this album, so my blood is on the recording.
We're really happy with the band, and we're just excited to have them on record because I think we sound probably the best we've ever sounded, and that's in no small part because of them. The way we've been making the album so far is we take our band into Daisy Chain Studios, which is a great studio owned by Ian Rose in Sunset Park in Brooklyn, and we record just the five of us except Dylan playing the songs live. And then we go to Paul's studio, Bug Sound East, and there we do all our vocals and overdubs and things like that. So we're working with two studios, which is pretty cool. You know, Paul also has a lot of synthesizers and organs and just a lot of cool facilities that we've been able to use. You know, Theophobia is known for sort of, you know, we joke a lot between our songs, and you know, our music has a lot of humor in it. We like to be performative and loud and funny. But we take the music really, really seriously, and the process of making it is something that we don't take lightly. When I think of Theophobia, even more than just a band that is goofy and funny and likes to have fun, I really think that we're all about pure art. And I think that making this album, what I really want, sort of the run-through objective of it to be, is just 100% pure creativity and art.
Some of the expenses we need help covering include the daily rate of recording in the studio, as well as paying our engineer. We also have to cover the cost of the analog media that we record onto, and transport equipment between spaces. We also plan on working with instrumentalists outside the band, such as a string quartet and horn players, and we need to be able to compensate everyone. We're hoping if we have enough money left over, we can also use some of that to fund the very ambitious music videos that we're trying to make. Perks for helping us fund this album include a credit in the liner notes, merch, a personalized thank you from the whole group, and for a bigger price, we can write a song for you about the topic of your choice, and we record ourselves performing it for you. We'll have physical media available and so much more.
This is really important to us, and for me, this is, as a musician, an album that I've been ready to make for years. Just everything but the kitchen sink, almost like a musical carnival or circus where there's just a million different things to grab onto and just exciting, eclectic concepts. So we really hope to get this thing made, and anything that you can do to help would be so much appreciated.
The most wanted woman in the